All right, welcome back to the AI Native Advisor. I'm your host today, Mike Shannon, CEO over at Improve, and we've got Nisiar Smith, founder, CEO of Courtside Wealth. Nisiar, welcome to the pod.
It is an honor and a privilege to be here, Mike. I'm excited to jump in today. And I just want to say before too, man, like I want to thank you for your advocacy. Ever since we've met back at Future Proof, you have done a very intentional job of just cultivating a relationship with me, and I think that's lost in our world in general, not even from like any type of business perspective. I just think people are losing the art of relationships, and I'm glad to know that you are, whether you notice it or not, you've been intentional about it, and I appreciate that. And it doesn't, I'm paying attention.
Wow.
For the lack of better words.
Touching my heart there. No, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I remember we were just sitting charging our phones next to each other, and
I was
somehow
I was burnt out. I didn't really want to.
Yeah. Oh, so was I.
And you started talking, and look.
Well, we had a. I come from the basketball world, mopping floors and doing laundry, and we got to talking about I used to work for Tim Grover. I think somehow that was a conversation. And then, because you would tell me your early client base were, elite athletes and some NBA guys. So yeah, it was a cool jumping point. And no, likewise, I appreciate it. You've been, somebody behind the scenes really helping us, think through how we should build, improve. You've given us some of the best product feedback and honestly just like, go to market strategy as well. So I appreciate you, Nisiar. So we're going to dive into a few things here, totally tool agnostic. This podcast is never a commercial for Improve, but we like to touch all different types of the workflow. So just to give us the lay of the land. So obviously you're a former vice president at PNC. You launched Courtside. You've now recently launched a CPA practice within Courtside. And so I think it's one of the most exciting RIAs that I've had a chance, to get to know, work with a little bit. So can you give us just the lay of the land on Courtside so our audience knows, if they're similar or different type of firms?
Yeah. So as Mike mentioned, Nisiar Smith, president and wealth advisor for Courtside Wealth Partners, I feels good to say this. We are a full service financial planning and investment management firm. Leading athletes, entertainers, coaches, and entrepreneurs. Like our expansive client base is now growing in those spaces. And so we've been in existence for about a year and a half now. As Mike mentioned, I was on the corporate side of finance and decided that I wanted a more intentional way to serve clients. And so Courtside Wealth Partners was birthed from there. Recently we actually announced it this week. Courtside CPA and Associates has become an affiliated arm of Courtside Wealth Partners, and that is led by a 20-year CPA veteran, Brian Murray, who is going to lead all things tax strategy, tax planning for our clients of Courtside Wealth Partners. So we're excited about that. And I think one of the things that I recognize with, launching an RIA, which is what I am, is that I needed to separate myself, especially for the demographic that I serve, right? It's a highly competitive but very difficult demographic to work with. And when I say difficult, I'm not talking about the clients. I mean, getting to work with the type of clients we work with.
High profile. Everybody's after them.
Everyone's after them, and so I'm always thinking outside the box in terms of how do I separate myself, and not just by can I outpace the S&P 500, right? Or what are my returns like? And I look at it like outside the lines, like how can I be a better advisor? And leverage my resources, technology, all of that to really be the best advisor I can be to my clients. So yeah, man. That's
so. Let me dive in right on that. So that because we're going to talk about different AI uses. When I first met you, and I think maybe you were going to catch a plane a few days later to go meet like an NBA client. And I thought, all right, well, this is, he's obviously very hands-on in person with this clientele. Not to say there's no Zoom or phone calls, but my initial thought was, you probably don't have much use for AI, and we just hit it off at a friendly basis. But then I find you're actually you experiment with a whole lot of different AI tools, and so I'm curious to dive into that a little bit, even with high profile clientele, fairly like narrowly focused in a good way. You're still experimenting around AI tools. What are you trying? Like, what problems are you trying to solve? Give us the lay of the land.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm if I don't create notes for myself, I go on tangent. So I actually wrote this down just so that I could
Okay.
be able to share this
Felt the
with
same
the
way.
listeners. Number one, there are a couple of problems that I always look at solving within my firm. Right. Number one, I think the most important piece is like, how do I optimize client onboarding? Right. How do I create an
Okay.
experience utilizing technology to really create an impactful experience, but then also allow me to get all of the proper information I need from a client, and specifically with athletes, right? The demographic I'm serving, it's not easy to get all of this information, right? Because you got to understand, athletes work their entire lives revolve around a schedule. Okay, it's not like you and I, we can run over 30 minutes and it ain't the end of the world.
82 games in the season. Yeah.
82 games in a season, and even for some of my college players who are navigating the NIL climate, they're on a schedule. Athletes are on a schedule. So being very intentional about hopping in our meetings, getting right to the point, skipping the small talk, which I know for some advisors it's like, whoa, I do spend a lot of time doing small talk because when I'm with them in person, it's less about we're talking about their portfolio or how well their retirement planning is going, like, et cetera. Like, there's a bunch of things that we could talk about in a client meeting, but in person, it's more of that human element, connecting, small
Yep.
talking, like really spending the time to get to know them more. But client onboarding is one. Meeting prep is the second part of my business where I want to ensure that before I go into an in-person or a virtual meeting, I have all of the information that we talked about previously, but then also where we need to shift the conversation so that we keep things progressing, right?
Yeah.
And my investment prep, right? I recently joined Y charts, right? Being able
Okay.
to have a better seamless flow when it comes to giving my clients a visualization of their portfolio performance, right? It's one thing to put all of this inside of black and white and kind of have it all, written out. But most athletes are scripted. They need to see the
Yeah.
visual parts. I mean, you're talking about people that their coaches take iPads or clipboards and draw
Right.
it up, right? So like, why wouldn't you have a visual representation of how their money is performing,
Right.
right? That's
Well, and what a great metaphor. Just to interject on that.
yeah.
You obviously work with the best athletes in the world, but every advisor, I think, should have that same mentality. Draw it up like a coach
Yeah.
is drawing up the play, in a high intensity game, because this is the biggest game, of people's lives is the finances of their household. And so I love that. I love that metaphor. Love Y charts. Sean Carpenter's a Chicago founder friend.
Yes,
So
in Chicago. Yeah.
shout out to Sean and Y charts. Obviously there's a different Sean CEO now, Sean Brown. Shout out to him too. Okay.
So
Meeting, the
investment prep-
onboarding meeting prep. Yeah.
investment prep.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
And I have three more to name.
Oh,
Compliance,
three. Okay, let's go.
compliance,
Okay.
data entry, which we can kind of integrate that with client onboarding, right?
Yeah.
And then like the email and initial drafting, right, for client meetings, right? I think
Yeah.
that's I think any advisor will say the email draft alone saves a ton of time, right?
Yep.
On yesterday's, I was on a call on Wednesday. An advisor talked about how he utilizes AI and he saves over 75 hours per month by automating prep, follow up, and communication. Because
Yeah.
you gotta know that's a majority of our job as advisors, right? It's
Right.
the prep, the follow up, and the communication with clients that typically erodes away at our days when we're in back to back client meetings or if whatever is going on. But those are like the areas in which I'm always thinking about how do I leverage AI to solve for the pain points of time management that it requires for me to to give myself to those areas, right? Because
Yeah.
right now I'm a growing RIA. I don't have the luxury of having a 5-man team. It's myself,
Right.
an assistant, and a CPA now, right? And so like
Right.
we have to be very optimal with our time. And so, figuring out where our leveraging points are with AI and figuring out how to like repeat this process is also important because there is going to
Right.
be a day where we hire. How do I plug and play the next
Yeah.
employee in into our ecosystem? Because I'm building I I say this all the time. I'm not building a lifestyle practice.
Yeah.
I am building a firm, and one where it needs to have really good systems and operations. And so
Right.
AI is going to solve a lot of those issues or pain points that could
Let,
arise.
So let me ask. That was a great outline of 6 categories, which I could spend a few hours going into all 6. So let me pick and choose here.
Yeah,
With the
let's go
20 or
for
so
it.
minutes we have. But let me ask you this question. So every advisor has the challenge of developing trust over a long period of time to
Yeah,
eventually earn the right for a client. You're in such a unique position that your clients are so high profile, at least a good amount of them,
yeah,
that, like you said, everybody's after them. And so this doesn't necessarily have to be an AI solution, but something we think about a lot is, okay, what are the trust earning moments that an advisor may just like sort of forget or not be on top of, and as those compound over time, that's how you eventually like earn a client. So beyond the client communications that you talked about, you've got all these relationships that might one day be clients. And especially for you, you're talking about athletes that might eventually or currently have an NIL deal. They're
yeah.
not even in the NBA or NFL or whatever yet. Or the coach that's an assistant might be a head coach one day. So how do you manage the relationships that are not yet clients, and what tips or tactics do you have of getting in front of the trust earning moments?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I think advisors need to understand that yes, you're a good portion of your practice can be digital, meaning that you can take client meetings via Zoom or Google Meets or whatever medium you use.
Sure.
That's going to happen, and I take meetings that way. But we have to get back to touching our clients. Like they want to see us. They want to know that like we're not just hiding out in a room or in an office somewhere, not looking to be to interact in a way that led you that led you to ultimately wanting to do this job, right? Because this is a human. We are in the human business of creating really good experiences, and we're utilizing financial planning and investment management to
Yeah.
be a part of that, right? So for me, you know um, it's my opportunity pipeline for prospects is much longer than the average advisor, right? I don't meet with
Yep.
an athlete tomorrow and then in 2 weeks they make a decision. In most cases they don't make a decision to hire me. There's normally a relationship capital process to that, right? Where I can earn
Yep.
the trust, right? I may go out,
Yep.
have dinner with the family. I may go support them at their game. I may support them at their birthday event. There are a number of things that happen throughout the year. Like for example, I have a really a top talent that I'm going to meet with the family in early December. We had a great meeting. We hit it off. Now we need to go we need to go have dinner, and we're going to have more
Yeah.
dialogue. I need to be able to connect on a human level with the athlete
Yeah.
and their family, right? Because that's the next part of this process is when you're working with my demographic, you're not looking to just win over the athlete. You got the important people that are in their lives,
Sure.
and you
Yeah.
also
Full
need to
team.
build that trust with. So it's like the climb to work with them is much harder, just given that there needs to be a protection of like this individual because of who they are. And
Sure.
so, I always tell them in any setting, I'm not looking for you to give me trust right away because I'm a wealth advisor and I work with athletes existing. I want to earn that trust, right? Just like they want
Yeah.
to go out and earn the playing time from their coach in order to be the type of player they are and to earn minutes, right? I utilize a lot of sports analogies because I'm meeting them where they are and they get it and they understand it. And so for me, it's like, all right, I operate off of two currencies. One is trust, and the other is
Yep.
relationship. Those are the two
Yep.
currencies that I operate from, right? And
Totally.
having a narrow focus in on those two areas allow me to set myself apart as an advisor and being able to show them like, hey, this guy is like, he's not just chasing my assets that I have. He's not just talking about investment performance. He actually cares not only about me, but the
Yep.
people that are around me. And again, leveraging my, and, I can't say that all of this is in my brain. I have to have technology to rely on, right? I have a personal
Yeah.
life, right? I'm getting married next year. Like there are other things that
Yeah.
are going on.
Congrats.
And so thanks, man. I appreciate that. There are other things that are going on. And so like leveraging my CRM is very important for that, right? Because that's where I'm able to, sort of take everything that is happening like within this workflow and have it live somewhere so that it's a repeatable process. That's the
Right.
next thing. A lot of advisors don't have repeatable processes, and so if
Right.
I hired another advisor today, I have a repeatable process for another advisor to understand how to
Right.
successfully work the opportunity pipeline, which
Yep.
again is consistent around building trust and relationship currency. So
Yeah. Can I
it's
double click on that for a
yeah,
second?
let's do it.
Those two themes are huge. Trust and relationship. Those are your two currencies.
Yeah.
In sort of your wish list scenario, and maybe pieces of that exist in AI today, but AI is at such an early state. At a future state, on those two currencies of trust and relationship, what's kind of your wish list or imagination scenario of how might AI help you or not in those two currencies?
I think integrations are important, right? I think with a lot of the technology, we're first of all, before I continue on, we're AI is such a buzzword now, and it is a overhyped area currently, right? And rightfully so, right? Any new vertical or new area in which people are developing, and we're still in a very infancy. I think we're in a very infancy stages of AI and what it ultimately will be in our world, and it creates a lot of rage bait content or clickbait content that just gets people going. Like I remember having my grandmom's like, what is this AI thing? I don't know anything about that, right? Like, what does that
Right.
mean? It seems scary to me, right? That's her
Right.
whole spiel. But being able to have like better integration between our AI tools and the actual tech that we use as advisors,
Okay.
right? For me, that's like a more of a 1 year near term sort of wish list item for me, because if I have all of my technology speaking to each other, it allows me to be the best wealth advisor to athletes in America,
Yeah.
right? And gives me a leg up on my competitors, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm in a very competitive area, and you have some of the largest firms who have been dominating and serving athletes for hundreds and hundreds of years. And
Yeah.
so when you think about that, I want to, me coming from that world, I understand that their technology doesn't talk to each other, right? So
Yeah.
if I can solve for that issue, being an independent advisor, I think I could give myself a leg up, because to what you just asked me, now I'm able to take my process, have it live somewhere, and have it be repeatable, no matter who is sitting in the seat, right? So again,
Right.
better integration. I think more AI that truly understands my firm's investment philosophy and can draft aligned content, right? I think that's the next piece. As the AI gets to learn us as advisors, also
Yeah.
understands what our philosophies are from an investment perspective and even financial planning, because that's what I lead with is financial
Sure.
planning. I think again that positions us to be even better advisors to our clients. Yeah, so those are like two of my, like, I would say medium to short term. I think long term, AI should just co-pilot, each client's situation, right?
Yeah.
Almost like having a physical body in the seat, because I do think that there will be, specifically in the RIA space, you're gonna the need to hire a very large team won't be necessary in the next 5 to 10 years. You will
Yep.
need a good, you will need a good sizable team in order to scale and grow, but you
Sure.
might not need 100 people to do the job. You might only
Right.
need 25 to 50 people to do the job, and AI helping you navigate the additional 50 that you would else otherwise have if we didn't have this
Yeah.
technology. So those are some of my like more short term, medium term uh, you know wish list items that I think I would really love to see in our
Sure.
space.
Well, and I think it all comes back to, like you just said, standing out as the advisor is doing all of the, higher touch personal things like showing up, to the family dinner, showing up at the game. These are all these things that, if your back office and your processes are better handled with some AI help, now you do the things that really differentiate, because every one of your clients, your client leads, 10, maybe 30 other advisors know about them because they're all, for the most part, public. So you have this hyper intense game. And so, that's interesting, interesting insight. So I guess just, wrapping up, we're at 20 minutes. What are your curiosities of AI is not perfect right now, tools like Improve, whatever else, like we haven't figured it all out yet. What are your curiosities of like, I wonder if in the next 6, 12, 18 months, just as you think about like, wonder what these tools might do for me?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Mike. And so like, I think of like, what is I often ask myself this question, right? I spend Mondays in sort of like this, I use Monday as a time block period for myself and my firm to really think about how do I ideate and scale what I'm doing. Right.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of advisors don't take time to do that. It's just like meet with clients or biz dev. Right. And so I think for me, I'm thinking about what is my AI native vision for my firm. Right. Would an AI native, what would an AI native look like for an RIA to be more of a tech company with financial expertise, or a financial firm with tech superpowers, right? That's just like what we were just talking about in terms of like the scalability of employees. And then we say like, what stays human only, right? Because my AI can't go and have that meeting I'm having in December.
Right.
There's no way that's happening, right? So like, is it the client relationship piece that we talk about, right? Relationship capital. For me, hell yes, relationship capital. No technology is replacing that. I will be there in person to have that meeting, to meet, to be where the family is, no matter what, and not looking to have any type of technology replace that. What becomes AI first, right? Is it research? Is it drafting, analysis? Is it data processing, right? And then how does that org chart change, right? Again, it's going back to where I'm talking about expanding, utilizing AI to expand our companies. How does the org chart change from saying, oh, you need the COO, you need the chief of staff, you need the, so like, how does these roles change? And can we utilize, we might even be able to utilize AI as the COO, right? So that way, I mean, that's a huge cost. You're talking about someone who is at the, at the epicenter of like your business, right? They are the person that's keeping the wheels turning in the business. So those are just some of like. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say the interesting theme that I've been hearing is you're wanting to do more of the human side of things, and it's perhaps a scenario where AI just enables more of that.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Human approach first. AI enabled. It will not be any different for my firm.
Yeah.
It can't be, because I am in the people business. I am not in the technology business. And so like I need to be where my clients are, supporting them, showing up for them, and being able to have them have the type of information that's necessary. Because there's another thing too. I'm big on the financial education piece. Like I don't. I tell all of my clients, and even in prospect meetings, and parents love this, by the way, Mike. This is still your daughter's, because I do work with WNBA players as well. This is your daughter's situation, or your son's situation. Right. I am just a driving instructor. I am not getting in the front seat of that car and driving it. I am directing you on where to go. And so financial, if I can also leverage AI to write me my newsletter around, I feed it the framework, it gets the structure. And so today I want to talk about why Steph Curry broke away from Under Armour. Let's understand the economics and the business fundamentals around that. I want AI to help me draft and come up with the ideas so that I can go in and type and make the modifications, right? Because it learns me and it learns my firm and what my philosophy is, as I mentioned earlier. And then we have something that is beneficial to my clients, prospects, and even newer employees, because again, we want a repeatable process. So you got me like a little geeked up.
This is awesome. Yeah. Well, Nisiar Smith, CEO of Courtside Wealth, which is not just wealth management, but also an accounting practice now. Yeah, Nisiar, thanks for sharing everything today. This was hugely insightful. So thanks for joining the show.
Thanks, Mike. Anytime for you guys.